Hello YouTube, Broke Collector 79 here again. I got a lot of positive response from my last video and I really appreciate all those that watched it. Since then I've had a handful of people subscribe to my channel and I really appreciate that. I want to name, I'm not going to do this every time, but since this is the first time I want to name some of those that have subscribed. The Comic Strip 3, Kid Comics 1, Batman Comics 87, or Batman Comic 87, Pete's Silver and Bronze Comic Book Channel, Comic Book Collectors Web, Supreme Comic Channel. Really appreciate you guys. And the Comic Strip 3 was the first one to subscribe and to leave feedback. And I told him that I would try this weekend to make a video showing off all of my CGC books. And that's what I'm going to do right now. Now I was I've been watching several of Mongo Stomp Time 07's videos, and he liked one of Living Dead Comics videos, and he gave his CGC rant, and I thought it was really good. I liked it, and I'm going to point to a few things that that I noticed in some of my CGC books, kind of like what he was talking about. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start with my lowest graded books and work my way to the top, and I'm leaving one out and I'll show it at the very end. It's one of my favorite books, but I've also got a little story to tell about it too. But without further ado, here's my first one, The Incredible Hulk, issue number 102, graded at 6.0. Now, I bought this one raw and had it sent in for grading last year. And I mean, as a raw book, filling it, flipping through the pages, it was an extremely tight book. And I thought it was going to come back with at least a 7, but it ended up with a 6. But I mean, it's I like the feel of it. I mean, it was really, I mean, it's put together. But I mean, big premiere issue. And this is another one of those. If you watch my last video when I was talking about, this is the first The Incredible Hulk book. It was Tales to us. I say that. Let me take that back, because the first Incredible Hulk ran for 5 or 6 issues, and then they dropped it, and then Hulk came back in Tales to Astonish, and then after the Tales to Astonish run, they went back to the Incredible Hulk, and this was the first big premiere issue from 1968. So they and right up here it talks about the who's in the book. There's the Warriors 3, Enchantress, Odin appearance, and the origin of the Hulk is retold in this book. So really nice key issue from the late 60s. My second book, I got this one last year too. It was one of the big pickups I needed for my X-Men collection that I have, and it's X-Men issue number 94, and graded at 6.0. And this is when the new X-Men, new as in 1975, went back into the regular X-Men series. So it started with issue number 94. And this next one, I was showing it in my last video, Giant-Sized X-Men issue number 1. So issue number 94 was a continuation of Giant-Sized X-Men issue number 1, which that includes the first appearance of Colossus, Storm, Thunderbird, Nightcrawler. I mean, this is one of the key Bronze Age books. But yeah, this was, I picked this one up raw back in like 1999 or 2000, and had it sent in, got a 7.0, and one of the cool things about this book, this was before the CGC Signature series, and which this one wouldn't have been classified as that anyways, because it was, you know, CGC wasn't there to document it, but it comes with a certificate of authenticity that this book was signed by David Cochran, and so they have it on here on the front of it that Dave Cochran written on the front page or first page in pen. So I think this is probably the only autographed book that I have. Next is my 7.0, and I showed this one last week too. 7.0 issue of the Submariner. So this has this origin of the Submariner, and I'll put these two side by side because both of these characters were in Tales to Astonish, and then they got their own titles. So. And I really wish they'd do something with the Submariner in the cinematic universe, because I mean the guy's a classic Marvel character. Alright, now I know this guy is one of everybody's favorite characters, and he is probably my all-time favorite character. In fact, my son's name is Logan. And so Wolverine from the limited series, issue number 1, back in 1982. I bought all 4 of the books. There's 4 parts to this miniseries, and I bought all 4 of them together. This book looks to me a lot better than an 8.0. I mean, there's a non-breaking stress line. You know, a couple of them here on the spine. Maybe a little bit of a rounded edge, and I'm sorry my camera's not auto-focusing here. A little bit of a rounded edge here on the corner, but the rest of it, I mean, to me it looks pretty good. You can still see the back. I think it's a little bit better than an 8. Let's see. Alright, some of these comics I bought. Some of these I bought raw, had sent them into CGC myself. Others, there's a handful I bought off eBay. Then there's another auction site called Heritage Auction. If you're not careful, you can spend a lot of money on that site. They catch you with a thing they call buyer's premium, that little extra on top that they charge for every book. But in my quest to get a lot of these #1 issues and first appearances, I picked up this #1 issue of The Power of Warlock, issue number 85. It's got the origin of Warlock in it. Really, I mean, pretty cool cover. Warlock's pretty badass, and maybe they'll use him a lot with you know, the whole Thanos and Guardians of the Galaxy you know, stuff coming out in the movies soon. Alright, getting into some of my nicer books. Everything from here on, except for the last one, is 9.2 or up. And here's my issue of Amazing Spider-Man, issue number 300. And of course, most of you, anybody that's a Spider-Man fan, knows that this is the first full appearance of Venom. And I mean, it's just I bought this one raw last year and had it sent in. I think I had 6 books submitted last year, and I need to gather around a few to send in this year. But I mean, of course, this is one of the most famous covers, you know, in all of Spider-Man, drawn by Todd McFarlane. I mean, it's pretty awesome. So anybody that's a Spider-Man fan, I'm sure if they don't already have this in their collection, they want it. Awesome book. This next one here, I've had this one in my collection for about the last 10 or 12 years and finally got it submitted last year. Uncanny X-Men issue number 266, the first full appearance of Gambit. And this was a book that I feel like if I would have submitted this thing 10 years ago when I submitted several of my other X-Men book, I probably would have got a 9.4 or a 9.6. But for some reason, this one came in at a 9.2. And I think some of these books, if I did get them pressed, they would probably go up a couple points or more. This one, probably that Spider-Man, I might be able to get a 9.4 out of. Here's New Mutants 9.4, first full appearance, or I guess first appearance of Deadpool. So, I mean, it's just, Deadpool is probably one of the hottest characters right now. He's about on par there, kind of like how Wolverine was in the 90s and the early 2000s. I mean, Deadpool is gathering some steam. So if you don't have this book, I would suggest you go out and get it now. So I mean, just a And of course, you know, it's drawn by everybody's favorite, Rob Liefeld. I know on Reddit he gets a lot of flack. So. And my next one, right here, Uncanny X-Men issue number 129, first appearance of Kitty Pryde. So this is one of the first X-Men books that I got whenever I started trying to accomplish my run. I bought several of these, and this was one of them. And I got another one or two X-Men coming up. This next one